In the time it took me to solve this bug, I probably could have circumvented the globe by alpaca. Why? Because I didn't pay attention and follow my own advice. Maybe I can save you guys some time with this. What's going on, everybody? I'd like to welcome you to Mike's Classic Pinball. I am Mike, for those of you who did not guess. And today I'm actually bringing you a tech video. Yeah! I know, it's about time, isn't it? And we are going to lovingly call this video Tug Your Lug. Now, for my EM pinball friends that are watching, you guys know what I'm talking about already. For those of you who do not and happen to maybe click on the video because you saw a thumbnail of me and looked upon me with a combination of wonder and lust, it could happen. Let me explain. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background as to what's going on. I've been working on a batch of games for a while now. This has to do with that one, but it has to do with a lot of other games too that I've run into this on, and I've given advice on this before and I didn't pay attention. It's taken me way too much effort to get this to work. I should have solved this a lot quicker. But what's been going on is I finished that game, which is Gottlieb Melody Lane, quite some time ago. And it turned out really nice, plays very well. And very recently, as I've been polishing off the games and finished bulletproofing, it developed a fault. Now, the fault was a very simple thing. I'll give you an explanation as to what's been going on. The game was working great, but suddenly the game would not increment ball. It would start at ball 1 when you start a game, but it wouldn't increment to ball 2 and 3 and 4. Now, when this was going on, if I went back to where the stepper unit was and manually incremented, it would go to the next ball. And when I would manually increment it to game over, everything would be fine, start a new game, and it would reset properly. So there are two coils on the back. There's one that resets it, and there's one that steps it up. Now, I checked the coils, but they were great, okay? The unit was functioning nicely, but it just wouldn't increment up. So I tested the line and I tested everything. I even went so far as to run from the base of the coil all the way down to the end of the line, which, according to my schematics and these peepers, was the black with orange trace line. So I stuck my little clamp, the clamp end from my multimeter onto that, and I ran the other line all the way around to the end. I closed the appropriate relays, and nothing. I get continuity, but it still wouldn't work. So I knew it was there, and I tested on the score motor switch, which is that's what I suspected was wrong. It was clean and it was working. And I tested with continuity and closed the switch and it was working. I checked the B relay, which is, I'll get to that in a moment, but it was working. And yet it wouldn't increment. It just stopped incrementing, and it did it randomly. It just stopped one day. And so I went mad trying to figure it out. Was it the coil? Was it something wrong with one of the intermittent points? Because there's several intermittent points. There's the B relay, the XB relay, that it would go through. No, those were all fine. So I was really tearing my hair out trying to figure out what was going on. Finally, I went back and went back to my own advice. And I found the problem. And I'm salty that I didn't catch it. I mean, I didn't see it. And sometimes that happens when you're an EM guy. You'll skip one stupid little step because you figure I don't need it. And then that ends up being it. But you don't think about it. So that's what was going on. It wouldn't increment. I had continuity. I had the line. The coils were good. And I knew if the connection was being made. Yet it would not increment. So what was the problem? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a few moments to think about it. And let's see if you can find an answer that was similar to mine. And I'm going to give you a few moments of a picture that my son drew of a narwhal in a fine hat. So, now we've thought about this for a moment. What did you come up with? Leave me some comments down there, and tell me what you thought it was. And let me explain in a little more detail as to what was going on. Okay, so this is the score motor, and if we look around here, we see that I've got all of the schematics and all the layouts for this. I'm not going to go through everything, but the switch that I was after was this one. This is the one that would trigger the unit to go up and down. Now, I'm going to see if I can catch this right. Here we have the black and the orange line. Now, what had happened was I was going through it, checking again. I was clamping on there, and checking it. What I didn't notice, and when I was going through it, was I went through and checked it again after I pulled it out to go through it again. I was, oh, what's going on? And popped right off. The solder joint on the lug had gone cold. And now I always am an advocate of, as I said, tug your lug. It's not a dirty thing. It's just a Gottlieb thing. Now you can see on some of these, I'll show you close up here. They didn't solder these perfectly. They didn't have the best solder on these. It's a bit of a half-assed job, honestly. So what I ended up doing was I have reflowed this one, and I have gotten it back on. And I went through the entire game again, not just here on the relay board, but in the back box as well. And I tugged the lug on every one of them. I went through and I pull, good, decent pull on it. 18 points came loose. 18 points came loose throughout the board and the back. That just means that they were making, they might have been making connection because the game was working, but they were getting ready to come loose. So I went through all of those points and I reflowed them and I checked everything again, and I put everything and reflowed anything that was even suspicious. Now, on one particular game, I've ended up being to the point where I have had to reflow the whole damn game. But my tip for this is when you're going through a game, go through and just give a nice light tug on every one of them, because they'll pop off if they've gone cold, or they'll come loose. Now, obviously it looks like there's hundreds of these points around the game, but it's only going to take you a few minutes to go through. Just go through, give them a little tug, and make sure that they're secure, and reflow anything that looks suspicious. Now, I have done that here. I've not plugged this back in, but I am confident, I am so confident that that was the issue. What we're going to do now is we're going to plug the board back in and give it a test. Okay, so we've got the board back in, we've got everything plugged back in, and so what we're looking for is we're going to start a game, see if everything resets properly. I went back and actually did a couple of things to make sure it thought that it was in the middle of a game. We're going to make sure everything resets properly, and then a game starts, and then play it a second, let the ball drain, see if it goes from ball 1 to ball 2, and so on. And if that works, then I've earned a chocolate milk. Let's give it a shot. Okay. Sweet. Good sign so far. That's ball 2. Ball 3. Ball 4. Come on, drain. All 5. Should we go for a game over? Sweet. All right, guys, so that seemed to work. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I hope this has been a little bit of a help to you. If it has been, go ahead and subscribe and like and share this around with some of your pinball buddies. I'd really appreciate it. I'm at the magic sci-fi nerdy number right now, 42 subscribers. So normally I'd be very content with that, but in the YouTube world, that's so go ahead and hit like, subscribe, all of that usual stuff. I appreciate it. It keeps me motivated to do more. I also wanted to let you know merch is coming. I have been waking up in a fevered frenzy in the middle of the night, coming up with funny ideas for pinball t-shirts. And so they'll be available on my website, link down there. Go ahead and check them out. Pick one up. Christmas is coming. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate it. And I'm just glad we finally got to do a tech video. I have a bunch more planned. I'm probably going to do some more filming today. So peace. We'll see you guys later.